Former daughter-in-law of President Trump announcing she has recently been diagnosed with breast cancer. Vanessa Trump, the ex-wife of Donald Trump Jr., sharing she's staying focused and hopeful in an emotional post.
Many people have started paying attention to Vanessa after years of staying mostly out of the spotlight and avoiding the constant attention that follows the Trump family. Her name is appearing in headlines again, and not for the reasons many expected. New developments, unexpected connections, and even unplanned circumstances have placed the mother of five back in the center of public discussion. The story unfolding now is raising eyebrows and fueling speculation across social media and news outlets alike. Some believe these events could have lasting consequences, while others think this is only the beginning of a much bigger story. So what exactly is going on behind the scenes, and why aren't things looking any good for Vanessa Trump? Join us as we unravel the details of this heartbreaking story. Behind the name Vanessa before Trump. Long before headlines connected her name to one of America's most famous families, Vanessa Hayden lived a very different life in New York City. The future still stretched out in front of her, untouched by politics, public attention, and the endless media interest that would later follow her every move. Born in December 1977, she grew up in Manhattan during a period when the city was changing quickly. New York rewarded confidence, style, and ambition, and Vanessa entered that world at an early age. Her mother, Bonnie Hayden, worked in the modeling industry, paving the way for Vanessa into a world built around appearance and opportunity. Growing up on Manhattan's Upper East Side, she spent her childhood surrounded by wealth, influence, and people who moved comfortably through elite social circles. Yet, she remained largely unknown outside those circles. Her life followed a path that seemed familiar for many young women raised in that environment, where fashion, business, and social connections often crossed paths. Education played an important role in her early years. She attended the Dwight School, a respected private school in Manhattan. The classrooms and hallways were filled with students from influential families, children who were related to diplomats, executives, and business leaders. Vanessa developed a presence that naturally fit into that setting. Friends and classmates saw a young woman who appeared comfortable wherever she went, carrying herself with a confidence that came from growing up in one of the world's most competitive cities. As she entered her teenage years, modeling became a natural step. The fashion industry in New York during the late 1990s offered endless possibilities to young women who had the right combination of looks and determination. Vanessa worked as a model and became familiar with the city's social scene. Fashion shows, events, and gatherings introduced her to influential people from entertainment, business, and high society. The city seemed full of open doors, and she moved through it with the confidence of someone still discovering where those doors might lead. One of those doors appeared during a fashion event in 2003. At that gathering, Donald Trump introduced Vanessa to his eldest son, Donald Trump Jr. At the time, the Trump name was already known in New York. The family represented far more than wealth. Their name appeared on buildings, TV screens, magazines, and newspapers. Donald Trump was a powerful figure in business and popular culture, and his family's public profile continued to grow. Vanessa stepped into that world during a period when the Trump brand was becoming impossible to ignore. The relationship developed over time. What began as an introduction gradually turned into a serious partnership. For Vanessa, entering the Trump family meant entering a completely different level of public attention. Wealth alone could not explain the fascination surrounding the family. Their lives often seemed to operate as part business venture, part media spectacle, and part carefully built public image. Every major event attracted attention, and every family member became part of a larger story that extended far beyond private life. By November 2005, the relationship reached a major milestone. Vanessa and Donald Trump Jr. married at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. The wedding took place at a property already known for luxury and exclusivity. Years later, the location would gain even greater significance in American public life. But even then, it represented power, influence, and status. Vanessa officially became part of one of the country's most recognized families, stepping into a role that would bring opportunities, privileges, and intense public interest. The years that followed focused largely on family life. While many public figures spent their time building businesses, seeking media attention, or expanding their careers, Vanessa devoted much of her energy to raising children. The couple welcomed 5 children over 7 years. Kai Madison arrived in 2007, followed by Donald John III in 2009. Tristan Milos was born in 2011, Spencer Frederick in 2012, and Chloe Sophia in 2014. During those same years, the Trump family's visibility expanded widely. Television appearances, business ventures, and eventually political developments pushed the family into an even brighter spotlight. Public interest intensified. News coverage increased. Every action attracted scrutiny. Yet Vanessa remained mostly outside the center of attention. Unlike others connected to the family, she rarely became a dominant public voice. Much of her time remained focused on creating stability for her children, while living within an environment that seemed too exposed. 12 years passed under that family name. Throughout those years, Vanessa's public image remained closely tied to her role as a wife and mother. Behind the headlines and public appearances, she built a life centered on raising 5 children while navigating the pressures that came with belonging to one of America's most watched families. The attention surrounding the Trump name never truly faded. Instead, it grew stronger with each passing year, bringing new levels of challenges. Then, in March 2018, the marriage reached its end. Vanessa filed for divorce after 12 years with Donald Trump Jr. The separation unfolded without the public battles often associated with high-profile breakups. The process moved forward quietly, compared to the intense media attention that usually surrounded members of the family. The focus remained on their children and the future of their family structure. By the end of the year, the divorce had been finalized, closing a significant chapter in her life. For more than a decade, the public knew her primarily through a famous surname. The woman who had once entered a fashion show as Vanessa Hayden now stood at another turning point. A different chapter waited ahead, carrying possibilities that were unexpected. The next stage of her story would unfold far from the moment that first connected her life to one of the most recognizable names in modern America. But before that, let's find out what really triggered the divorce. The perfect broken image. For years, Vanessa Trump stayed away from the center of public attention. Most headlines focused on other members of the family while she concentrated on raising 5 children and managing life behind the scenes. Yet beneath the surface, reports later suggested that not everything inside the marriage was as stable as it appeared. Stories that would not become widely known until years later were already beginning to take shape during one of television's most popular reality shows. In 2011, the 5th season of Celebrity Apprentice brought together celebrities, entertainers, and business figures under one roof. Donald Trump Jr. appeared on the program as an advisor, helping oversee challenges and offering guidance to contestants. Among those contestants was Aubrey O'Day, a singer and television personality known for her time in the music industry and reality television. At first, their connection appeared no different from countless interactions that happened during the production of a major television show. As filming continued, media reports later claimed that a much closer relationship developed between the two. According to accounts that surfaced years afterward, conversations extended beyond the cameras and beyond the normal interactions expected during production. The reports described a growing bond that continued after filming ended. What had begun in a professional environment reportedly became something far more personal as the months passed. Stories published by several news outlets suggested that Aubrey believed the relationship had genuine meaning and long-term potential. Various sources alleged that Donald Jr. described his marriage as being in serious difficulty. Those reports painted a picture of two people who believed they shared a strong emotional connection during that period of their lives. Much of the information came from unnamed sources, adding even more mystery to the story. As gossip spread through entertainment circles, details became increasingly dramatic. Media reports described private meetings and emotional conversations that allegedly took place away from public view. Every new article seemed to introduce another detail, creating a story that attracted massive attention from both celebrity watchers and political observers. The combination of fame, family influence, and secrecy made the reports difficult for the public to ignore. For a time, much of the story remained hidden from wider public view. The reports did not dominate headlines immediately. Instead, pieces of information surfaced gradually through entertainment publications and later accounts. According to stories that emerged afterward, the situation reached a turning point in early 2012. Reports claimed that messages connected to the alleged relationship were discovered, bringing the matter into the open within the family. The timing described in those reports added another emotional layer to the story. Vanessa was reportedly expecting her third child during that period. This was one of the most difficult aspects of the situation. The discovery created intense strain within the marriage. Public interest increased because many people viewed the circumstances through the lens of family loyalty, trust, and responsibility. According to later accounts published in the media, the Trump family responded quickly once the situation became known. Senior family members strongly opposed the continuation of the alleged relationship. Comments made years later by former Trump attorney Michael Cohen described efforts to bring the situation to an end. The statement suggested that significant pressure was placed on Donald Jr. to focus on repairing his marriage and protecting the family's public image. Despite the attention surrounding the allegations, the marriage did not immediately collapse. From the outside, Vanessa and her husband continued building their family. Additional years passed, and life appeared to move forward. Public appearances continued, family events continued, and the couple remained together. For many observers, this period became one of the most puzzling parts of the story. The reported controversy faded from headlines while their family life carried on under constant scrutiny. As the years moved forward, the political landscape around the Trump family changed dramatically. Donald Trump entered politics and eventually won the presidency. With that change came even greater media attention directed at every member of the family. Old stories that had once existed mainly in celebrity gossip circles suddenly attracted renewed interest. Journalists and commentators revisited earlier reports, examining events that had taken place years before the family's political influence expanded. When Vanessa filed for divorce in 2018, many media outlets looked back at the reported allegations from that period. Although neither of the couple confirmed that the divorce was linked to any single event, reporters frequently referenced the earlier controversy while discussing the end of the marriage.
Donald Trump Jr. and his wife Vanessa are divorcing. The couple's been married for 12 years and has 5 children. They issued a statement saying they have tremendous respect for one another. They also asked for privacy.
The renewed attention placed the old allegations back into public conversation. Readers who had never followed celebrity gossip became familiar with details that had once seemed forgotten. A year later, Aubrey O'Day discussed aspects of the past relationship during media appearances, drawing more attention to a story that refused to disappear completely. Media publications closely followed her comments, analyzing what they revealed about the reported relationship and how her perspective had changed over time. By then, years had passed since the events that generated the original headlines, yet public curiosity remained strong. The theme of the story was fame, power, family loyalty, and personal choices. Behind every headline stood real people whose lives were affected by public scrutiny. The allegations became part of a larger narrative surrounding one of America's most closely watched families. As media attention intensified around politics, business, and personal relationships, old stories continued to resurface. Yet another chapter was already starting, one that would shift attention away from past controversies and toward a surprising new relationship that few people saw coming. And the changes that followed would eventually reveal a side of Vanessa that many people had never truly seen before. After the storm. When the divorce had faded from the headlines, Vanessa Trump entered a very different stage of life. For years, her name remained connected to one of the most famous families in America, yet she rarely appeared at the center of the story. Public attention moved elsewhere. Political battles dominated the news cycle. New controversies filled television screens. Meanwhile, Vanessa focused on something far removed from campaigns, courtrooms, and media storms. Her energy went into raising 5 children and creating stability away from constant public scrutiny. Life after 2018 followed a quieter path. While many people connected to famous families continued to seek attention, Vanessa seemed comfortable staying outside the spotlight. Public appearances became rare. Interviews remained limited. Her private life stayed largely protected from the endless curiosity that surrounded the Trump name. Years passed with little public discussion about her personal relationships. The focus remained on family, especially her children, who were growing older and beginning to build lives and interests of their own. One of those interests gradually became important to a future chapter of Vanessa's story. Her eldest daughter, Kai Trump, developed a strong passion for golf. The sport opened doors to new friendships, new experiences, and new circles of people. Over time, those connections brought the Trump family into spaces far different from politics and business. Golf courses, tournaments, and junior competitions created opportunities for relationships that would have seemed unlikely only a few years earlier. As 2024 moved toward its final months, reports began circulating that Vanessa had grown close to a familiar name from the sports world. That name belonged to Tiger Woods. For decades, Woods had lived under a level of public attention few athletes had ever experienced. His career brought extraordinary success, but it also brought personal challenges that played out in front of a global audience. Like Vanessa, he understood what it felt like to have private struggles become public discussion. At first, the reports attracted curiosity rather than certainty. Stories showed up in entertainment publications, but neither side rushed to speak publicly. The situation remained largely private. Observers noticed small signs connecting the two worlds. Their families shared interests in golf. Their children moved within similar circles. The relationship seemed to develop away from cameras and away from the kind of publicity that often follows celebrity romances. Instead of dramatic headlines, there was a steady flow of speculation. Then, in March 2025, the speculation ended. Tiger Woods publicly confirmed the relationship through social media. The announcement included photographs of the couple together, turning months of rumors into confirmed news. Almost overnight, Vanessa returned to headlines around the world. Newspapers, television networks, sports outlets, and celebrity publications all carried the story. After spending years largely outside public attention, she once again found herself at the center of a major news cycle. The reaction was immediate. Many people were surprised by the pairing because the two came from very different worlds. Vanessa had spent years connected to one of America's most discussed political families. Tiger Woods belonged to the world of professional sports, carrying a legacy built through championships, records, and global fame. However, beneath those differences existed shared experiences. Both understood media pressure, both understood public judgment, both knew how difficult it could be to protect family life while living under constant attention. What made the story even more interesting was the way it unfolded. There was no major publicity campaign, no television special, and no dramatic reveal planned months in advance. Instead, the relationship emerged gradually before eventually being confirmed. The attention arrived because of who they were, not because either appeared eager to seek it. For Vanessa, that distinction mattered. The spotlight seemed to return on its own, finding her after years spent building a life outside its reach. As reporters searched for details, another piece of the story began attracting attention. The connection between their families appeared stronger than many first realized. Their children's shared interests in golf helped bring their worlds together. What looked at first like an unexpected celebrity relationship slowly revealed deeper connections beneath the surface. The story no longer centered only on romance. It also involved family, timing, and lives that had crossed paths in ways few outsiders had noticed. Meanwhile, there's something else they both have in common. Two lives shaped by loss. Some relationships begin during moments of success. Others take shape after years of setbacks, public mistakes, personal losses, and difficult recoveries. By the time Vanessa Trump and Tiger Woods became a couple, both had already lived through chapters that would have overwhelmed many people. Their lives had unfolded in different worlds, yet both understood what it meant to live under constant attention while trying to protect something personal from public view. For decades, Tiger Woods had existed at a level of fame very few athletes ever reached. His achievements transformed golf and turned him into one of the most recognized sports figures in the world. Tournament victories, major championships, endorsement deals, and global attention followed him everywhere. Millions watched him dominate a sport that once seemed impossible to master so completely. His success created an image of strength and control that appeared almost untouchable from the outside. Yet his story eventually became about far more than victories. Personal struggles soon entered public view. His marriage ended after an intensely reported period in his life. Physical injuries followed over the years, bringing repeated surgeries and long recoveries. Problems involving his back, knees, and other parts of his body forced him into battles that many believed would end his competitive career. Each setback seemed to create another obstacle standing between him and the game that had defined much of his life. The challenges continued into the next decade. In February 2021, a serious car crash in California left Woods with severe leg injuries. Recovery required months of rehabilitation and determination. The road back proved difficult, even for someone known throughout his career for discipline and mental toughness. The accident became another chapter in a life already filled with dramatic highs and painful lows. His future in professional golf remained uncertain as he worked through yet another difficult period. Vanessa's journey carried different struggles but required its own kind of endurance. After her divorce from Donald Trump Jr., she stepped away from the spotlight that had followed her for more than a decade. Instead of speaking publicly about every detail of her life, she focused on raising 5 children and maintaining stability within her family. Public appearances became less frequent. The years that followed allowed her to create a life that existed largely outside political headlines and public controversy. During those same years, both Vanessa and Tiger concentrated heavily on family. Their children became central parts of their daily lives. Vanessa's daughter, Kai, developed into a talented young golfer, while Tiger remained deeply involved in supporting his own children, Sam and Charlie. Shared interests and overlapping circles gradually brought the families closer together. What looked surprising from the outside appeared far more natural to the people living it. As reports about the relationship began appearing in early 2025, curiosity spread quickly. Observers noticed that the two seemed determined to keep things private, so public appearances remained limited. The relationship developed away from major events and media campaigns. Friends, family activities, and golf-related connections appeared to play a much larger role than celebrity attention. Even as rumors grew louder, both seemed comfortable allowing the relationship to develop at its own pace. Then came March 2005, when Tiger Woods publicly confirmed the relationship through social media. News organizations around the world immediately picked up the story. The announcement transformed a private relationship into international news. Vanessa suddenly returned to headlines after years of relative privacy. This time, however, the attention focused on a relationship connected to sports rather than politics. The public reaction reflected just how recognizable both names had become over the years. The response from people close to the situation appeared largely supportive. Reports indicated that both Donald Trump and Donald Trump Jr. were comfortable with the relationship. The connection between the families already existed through golf, school activities, and shared social circles. Rather than creating public conflict, the relationship seemed to develop with far less tension than many outsiders expected. That support helped remove some of the speculation that often surrounds high-profile relationships. As the months passed, public interest continued to grow. Every appearance, every photograph, and every report generated discussion. Yet much of the relationship remained private. Vanessa continued protecting her family life. Tiger continued balancing recovery, business commitments, and his role as a father. Despite the attention, many details stayed outside public view. The most important parts of the relationship appeared to exist far away from headlines and social media conversations. For Vanessa, the renewed spotlight felt very different from the one she had known years earlier. She was no longer being discussed only as a former wife or former daughter-in-law. Her own choices had become part of the story. Unfortunately, in the spring of 2026, public attention suddenly shifted away from romance, politics, and celebrity connections. A deeply personal announcement would place Vanessa herself at the center of the conversation in a way that had never happened before. Her own story, the unforeseen. Life-changing moments rarely arrive with any warning. They do not wait for the perfect time. They do not pause until a family feels ready. They appear in the middle of ordinary routines, turning familiar days into dividing lines between what came before and what comes after. For Vanessa Trump, one of those moments arrived in May 2026. After years of navigating public attention, family changes, and personal reinvention, she faced a challenge that had nothing to do with politics, celebrity, or famous last names. On May 20, 2026, Vanessa shared deeply personal news with the public. Instead of allowing rumors or reports to tell the story first, she chose to speak in her own voice. Through a message posted on social media, she revealed that she had recently been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Vanessa Trump says she has been diagnosed with breast cancer and shared the news on Instagram. She said she recently underwent a procedure and is now working with her doctors on a treatment plan.
The announcement immediately spread across news organizations, entertainment outlets, and social media platforms. Within hours, a private health battle became a public conversation. The message itself was direct and simple. There was no lengthy explanation of medical details. There was no attempt to turn the diagnosis into a public campaign. Vanessa explained that she was working closely with her medical team and following a treatment plan. She also shared that doctors had performed a medical procedure earlier that week. Beyond those details, much remained private. The focus stayed on treatment, recovery, and the support system surrounding her. For someone who had spent much of her adult life connected to public figures, the approach felt consistent with the path she had chosen after her divorce. Over the years, Vanessa had rarely volunteered personal details to the public. She avoided many of the media battles that often followed people connected to famous families. Even while announcing a serious health challenge, she maintained clear boundaries around her private life. Her request for privacy reflected a pattern that had defined much of her life after 2018. The announcement carried particular weight because it centered entirely on her own experience. For decades, many headlines connected Vanessa to someone else. She was introduced as a wife, a former wife, a daughter-in-law, a girlfriend, or a member of a famous family. This moment felt different. The news involved her health, her treatment, and her future. The attention focused not on the people around her, but on the challenge she personally faced. That shift changed the way many people viewed her story. Medical experts often emphasize the importance of early detection in breast cancer cases. Vanessa did not publicly discuss details regarding stage, prognosis, or the specific nature of her treatment. Because those details remained private, public discussion centered largely on the fact that she had already begun working with doctors and had undergone a procedure. Supporters expressed hope that early medical intervention would provide the strongest possible path forward. At the center of her message stood the people closest to her. Vanessa highlighted the support she received from family, her children, and trusted loved ones. Those words reflected the role family had played throughout every major chapter of her life. Whether during marriage, divorce, motherhood, or the challenges that followed, her children remained a constant presence. Now, during a health crisis, they once again occupied the most important place in her public message. The response arrived quickly. Friends, followers, and public figures filled social media with messages of encouragement. Members of the Trump family also responded publicly. Ivanka Trump shared a message expressing support and wishing Vanessa strength during recovery. Other family members acknowledged the announcement as well. The reaction showed a level of personal support that existed beyond political headlines and public disagreements. For a moment, family connections became more visible than family divisions. Yet despite those connections, the central story remained unchanged. For many people following the story, the announcement revealed a side of Vanessa that had often remained hidden. Public discussions about her life frequently revolved around famous names, political families, celebrity relationships, and public events. This moment stripped away much of that background. What remained was a woman confronting a serious diagnosis while trying to protect her family and maintain hope. The public attention surrounding her suddenly felt less connected to fame and more connected to something deeply human. As messages of support continued pouring in, another reality quietly unfolded behind the headlines. Doctors, treatment plans, medical appointments, and family conversations became part of daily life. The public could see the announcement, but much of the real journey remained hidden from view. Recovery would not happen through social media posts or news articles. It would happen through countless private moments known only to Vanessa and the people standing beside her. The diagnosis marked the beginning of a completely different chapter. It shifted attention away from old controversies, relationships, and political connections. For the first time in many years, Vanessa's story centered entirely on her own fight. Yet another unexpected development was already waiting beyond that announcement, one involving a deeply personal decision that would reveal even more about the woman who had spent so many years living behind other people's headlines. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.